6 bullets ripped through his body. 1 to the head, 1 to the arm, 2 to the back, 2 to the butt. Marcus should have died that night. But when he woke up in that hospital bed bleeding and broken, he wasn't thinking about who shot him. He was thinking about her, a little girl, 1-year-old, brown eyes, chubby cheeks. The woman who claimed he was the father, she'd been playing games from day one. She made a color-coded calendar showing when she slept with him and when she slept with her ex. She took a DNA test, then admitted she swabbed the wrong kid on purpose. And no, Marcus is standing in Judge Sterling's courtroom, trying to find out the truth before the next bullet finishes the job. Is he the father, or has he been chasing a lie this whole time? Judge Sterling is about to find out. Marcus stood at the plaintiff's table. His mother, Mrs. Vance, stood next to him. She had her arms crossed. Her jaw was tight. She'd been keeping track of every lie for months. Across from them stood Chloe, the woman who started all of this. Judge Sterling looked at Chloe first. Her voice was sharp. "Miss Brown, you admit to lying about the paternity of your daughter to both plaintiffs, multiple times. Is that correct?" Chloe nodded. "Yes, Your Honor." Judge Sterling didn't blink. "You realize they no longer believe a single word you say, and you're hoping today's results will finally uncover the truth." "Yes, Your Honor." Judge Sterling sat back. "Let's start from the beginning. How did this relationship end?" Chloe took a breath. "We were supposed to move in together. Marcus told me he was ready, that he wanted to settle down. So I found an apartment. We had an appointment to sign the lease and put down the deposit." Judge Sterling leaned forward. "And?" "He never showed up." Marcus shook his head hard. "That's not how it happened." Chloe kept going. "I called him over and over. He didn't answer for days. And by the time he finally called me back, I was already in Oklahoma." Judge Sterling turned to Marcus. "Were you done with the relationship? Is that how you broke up with her, by not showing up?" Marcus looked frustrated. "It wasn't even a real relationship, Your Honor. She was still talking to her ex the whole time, so what was I supposed to do?" Chloe's voice cracked. "Marcus, you told me you were ready. You know that's the truth." Mrs. Vance cut in. Her voice was loud and firm. "Regardless of all this, what brings us here are the lies. I just want to get to the bottom of this, because there was no closure." Judge Sterling nodded. "So, Miss Brown, at some point you end up with another guy. What happened?" Chloe sniffled. "When Marcus didn't show up, I left California. I drove to Oklahoma to be with my ex." Judge Sterling's eyebrows went up. "And how soon after you were intimate with Marcus did you go see your ex?" Chloe looked down. "It was soon." Judge Sterling stared at her. "It was soon? Do you have evidence of this?" Chloe pulled out a piece of paper. "This is a calendar. I wrote down the dates I slept with both of them." Judge Sterling took the calendar and held it up. "You outlined the dates you were intimate with both men on a calendar." The courtroom went silent. Judge Sterling studied it. "In green are the days you were intimate with Marcus, in red are the days you were traveling, and in blue are the days you were intimate with your ex." Chloe nodded. "Yes, Your Honor." Judge Sterling set the calendar down. "So there's doubt, legitimate doubt." Mrs. Vance jumped in. "But even looking at this calendar, it shows she lied about something else. She told me she took a plane to Oklahoma, that when she got off the plane, she was throwing up, morning sickness. But now we find out she drove?" Chloe shook her head. "I never told you I took a plane." Mrs. Vance got louder. "Yes, you did." Judge Sterling held up her hand. "Miss Brown, did you tell her you were throwing up when you got off the plane?" "No." Mrs. Vance wasn't backing down. "So when did you tell me you started throwing up?" "I didn't talk to you until after I was 8 months pregnant, when I told Marcus he might be the father." Mrs. Vance's face twisted. "You didn't talk to me until after you had the baby. That made me think you were waiting to see who the baby looked like so you could put that baby on somebody, and it just happened to be my son." The courtroom erupted in applause. Chloe looked hurt. "This is why I didn't want to say anything. She's just here to make me out to be the bad guy." Mrs. Vance didn't hesitate. "You are the bad guy."
Judge Sterling raised her hand again. Let's stay focused. Mr. Marcus, when you heard about the pregnancy, did she say you were the father or you might be the father? Marcus looked Judge Sterling in the eye. She was sure. She told me for sure I was the father, and even without a paternity test, I tried to step up. I asked if I could see the baby, if my mom could come get her, if she could bring her out on a plane. I said I'd pay for it. I just wanted to know my daughter. Mrs. Vance nodded. So he could bond with the child. She had 3 other kids. This one child shouldn't have affected her, but she wouldn't let him see her. Chloe shot back. You think I was going to send my child to California with somebody I barely knew? Marcus raised his voice too. You agreed to it, and then you backed down. Chloe's voice got louder too. It was his lifestyle I was scared of. Something could have happened to my child. Mrs. Vance cut her off. That's not true, because regardless of his lifestyle, I would have been the primary responsible person. Chloe laughed bitterly. You weren't the primary responsible person when we were sleeping together, so how can I take your word for that? The courtroom clapped again. Judge Sterling let the room settle. Then she looked at Mrs. Vance. You mentioned something earlier, a near-death experience. What happened? Mrs. Vance's face changed. Her voice got quieter. My son has had 2 separate near-death experiences. Does he have to die for the truth to come out? Judge Sterling leaned forward. What happened? Mrs. Vance's voice cracked. He's been shot. The courtroom gasped.
Chloe tried to defend herself, and that's the lifestyle I didn't want my daughter involved in. Mrs. Vance cut her off. You were messing with him during that lifestyle, so don't act like you cared then. Marcus spoke up. His voice was steady but tired. Your Honor, I almost lost my life. I got shot 6 times. In the head, in the arm, in the back, in the butt. After that, it made me think, what if the baby is mine? What if that's my baby? Judge Sterling's face softened. You woke up thinking about Maliyah. Marcus nodded. Yes. Judge Sterling turned to Chloe. And did he call you after he was shot? Chloe shook her head. No, I called his mother. I contacted his mother. Mrs. Vance corrected her immediately. No, our first line of communication was you calling him to tell him the baby was his. After that, I didn't hear anything for a month until I saw a picture of the baby on Facebook. Chloe tried to interrupt. I never said the baby was his. I said it was a possibility. Mrs. Vance rolled her eyes. Same difference. Possibility. Same thing. Judge Sterling asked to see the picture. Mrs. Vance handed it over. Judge Sterling studied it. This is the picture you saw on Facebook? Mrs. Vance nodded. Yes, and I inboxed her because I wasn't getting answers from my son. Judge Sterling looked at the photo again. There was another man in the picture. Is this the other potential father? Mrs. Vance nodded. Judge Sterling turned to Mrs. Vance. Did you inbox her because when you saw the baby, you felt like it could be your son's, or were you just curious? Mrs. Vance's voice softened. Honestly, when I saw the baby, I called to check on the baby and on her. She can say what she wants about me, but I still care. I'm a caring person. Judge Sterling noticed Mrs. Vance getting emotional. Why are you so emotional, Miss Montoya? What are you feeling? Mrs. Vance wiped her eyes. I don't know what to feel. I just want the truth to come out. Marcus jumped in. And another reason is because the baby looks like me. She favors me. So I was thinking, why can't I be in my child's life if that's my child? She looks like me. Judge Sterling looked at Marcus. If Maliyah is your biological child, do you want to have a relationship? Marcus didn't hesitate. Yes, I want to step up and be a man, like I've been trying to do from the beginning, even without a paternity test. Judge Sterling nodded. Then she picked up another piece of paper. At some point, you pursued a home DNA test. Is that correct? Mrs. Vance's face hardened. Correct. Judge Sterling gestured. Please explain to the court what happened. Mrs. Vance pulled out a document. I created a timeline of lies. If I can show you. Judge Sterling took it. Let's take a look. She read it aloud. Week 1. I purchased the DNA test, to which she agreed to take. I honestly believed she would go through with it and there wouldn't be any problems, but I ended up waiting 8 weeks, 2 months, for her to send it in. And the whole 2 months, she kept saying, I sent it, I sent it, I sent it.
Judge Sterling looked at Chloe. Miss Brown, had you done the swab? Had you sent the DNA sample in? Chloe nodded slowly. I did the swab. I did it, but it sat for a while because I didn't want to send it in right away. I really didn't want to know the truth. Judge Sterling's face didn't change. Continue with the timeline of lies, ma'am. Mrs. Vance kept going. Week 10, she finally sends in the DNA sample. Week 11, the results came in. I got an email in the middle of the night. Judge Sterling leaned forward. And what did the results say? Mrs. Vance's voice was firm. 0 probability of paternity. The courtroom gasped. Judge Sterling repeated it. 0? Mrs. Vance nodded. 0. Judge Sterling looked back at the timeline. But then what happens on week 14? Mrs. Vance's voice got louder. Week 14, I get told by my son that she said she lied, that she swabbed one of her other kids on purpose so that he wouldn't be the father. Judge Sterling's head snapped toward Chloe. Wait a minute, Miss Brown, did you say this? Chloe looked down. I said that out of being upset. He called me and was talking to me crazy, cussing me out. Marcus shook his head. That's another lie. Mrs. Vance's voice cracked. Once again, here we are. I'm in this emotional state again. Maybe I do have a grandchild. Maybe I don't. At the end of the day, my son got shot once. He got shot again after these results. That's week 14. And by week 19, he was shot again and almost died. The courtroom was silent. Mrs. Vance looked directly at Judge Sterling. So here we are. We still have a child up in the air. And that's what brings us here to paternity court. Judge Sterling asked quietly, "Do you hope she's your grandchild?" Mrs. Vance paused. "I don't know, because I don't know if I want to deal with her." The courtroom gasped again. Chloe shot back. "You don't have to deal with me." Judge Sterling held up her hand. "All right, ma'am, thank you for your very honest, brutally honest testimony." She turned to Chloe. Her voice was ice cold. "Miss Brown, that was a lot of lies, most of which you admitted to. Why so many lies?" Chloe's voice shook. "Because the whole time I was dealing with her, I should have been dealing with him, and that's how I feel." Marcus cut in. "That's because I cut her off, Your Honor. I cut her off. I wasn't dealing with her anymore. She wouldn't let me see the baby, nothing, wouldn't send her out, so I cut her off, and my mom was still calling." Chloe tried to defend herself. "He didn't even want me to have communication. He wanted me to stop pushing the issue. Even with coming to paternity court, he was upset. He wanted me to just not pursue it." Judge Sterling turned to Mrs. Vance. "Why couldn't you let it go?" Mrs. Vance's voice broke. "Because that could possibly be my grandchild. This is my son. I can lose him at any given time. He's been shot twice. Who's to say the third time isn't going to be it?" The courtroom was silent. Mrs. Vance kept going. "My son almost died when he was 2 weeks old, so if she wants to call him a mama's boy, that's fine. With him getting shot, it just brings different emotions to me. And I have a 91-year-old grandmother who's still able-bodied, and if this is her great-great-grandchild, she wants to be a part of her life as well." The courtroom erupted in applause. Mrs. Vance looked at Chloe. "If this is his daughter, she's withholding a whole bunch of people that could love her." Chloe shook her head. "You're just here to make me out to be the bad guy." Mrs. Vance didn't hesitate. "You are the bad guy." Marcus jumped in. "She was sending me pictures, Your Honor. I was posting them on Facebook, Instagram, like, this is my baby. I was showing everybody. And then she called me like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? Now I'm going through all this because his family members saw you posting pictures of the baby." Judge Sterling stopped him. "Wait a minute. What is going on?" Marcus pulled out his phone. "I made that picture myself, Your Honor. I made it and put it on there." Judge Sterling turned to Chloe. "Miss Brown, did you tell him he shouldn't do that?" Chloe nodded quietly. "Yeah, I did." Judge Sterling's voice got sharper. "Why?" Chloe's voice dropped. "Because my ex was thinking that Maliyah was his, and I didn't want to break our family up, and to go back into this, to deal with all of this." Marcus cut in. "I don't care about what you had. I'm here to see if this is my child." The courtroom exploded in applause.
Judge Sterling held up her hand. The room went quiet. "Well, the only way we're going to find out is to get the results, and I have them here." She picked up the envelope. The courtroom held its breath. Judge Sterling opened it slowly. She pulled out the paper. She read it to herself first. Then she looked up. These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics. The room was so quiet you could hear people breathing. Judge Sterling looked at Marcus, then at Chloe, then at Mrs. Vance. In the case of Montoya and Marcus versus Brown, when it comes to 1-year-old Maliyah Black, she paused. Marcus's jaw was tight. His hands were shaking. Mrs. Vance had her hand over her mouth. Chloe was staring at the floor. Judge Sterling continued. As to whether Mr. Marcus is her biological father, another pause. It has been determined by this court. The tension was unbearable. Mr. Marcus closed his eyes. You are not her father. Marcus let out a breath, a long, heavy breath. He nodded. Yes. Mrs. Vance covered her face with her hands. Chloe looked relieved. Judge Sterling watched all of them carefully. Miss Brown, you look relieved. Chloe nodded. Judge Sterling turned to Mrs. Vance. Miss Montoya, you look crushed. Mrs. Vance wiped her eyes. It's not about being crushed. At the end of the day, I really want him to go on with his life, get married, have a baby, and be able to be in that baby's life from birth. I wish the best for him in his future. Judge Sterling turned to Marcus. How do you feel? Marcus took a breath. Honestly, I feel relief. I got the truth. This isn't something little. This is her whole life, and I needed to know the truth. Judge Sterling nodded. This truth, Mr. Marcus, although you don't have a little girl, I need you to understand something. If you're ending up in the hospital that often from gunshot wounds, you need to leave that environment. You can leave that environment. The courtroom clapped. Marcus nodded. Judge Sterling looked at Chloe. And we know who her father is, right? Chloe nodded. Yes, ma'am. Judge Sterling's voice softened. Good. That's what's important. I wish you the best of luck. Take care of yourselves. Court is adjourned. Marcus walked out of that courtroom a free man. He wasn't a father, but he also wasn't trapped in a lie anymore. He'd been shot 6 times, survived twice, and now he had the truth. And sometimes, the truth is the only thing that can save you. Judge Sterling had done her job. She uncovered the lies, she revealed the truth, and she gave Marcus a chance to walk away and start over. Because at the end of the day, this wasn't just about DNA. It was about a man who almost died chasing a lie, and a woman who played games with 2 men's lives because she didn't want to face the truth. The baby had a father, just not the one Marcus thought. And for Marcus, that was the biggest relief of all.